Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Steps. My name's Lorene. Today, I'm bringing to you a microphone. I've had a couple of suggestions over the past 3 years that I speak too quietly and I could use a microphone. So I've picked one up, and I would really appreciate feedback as to whether you've noticed a significant difference. So I'm playing it stupid today. I have everything plugged in. There's like 4 points where it's supposed to be plugged in, including my collar. And I've turned it on. And let's just see if those of you out there who have more information with respect to microphones, this is like the simplest version of using it. So if you think it's okay, you could just leave me an emoji with a thumbs up or a blue heart or something like that, just to let me know that technically it seems to be working from your point of view. I'll listen to it back in when I do the editing and so forth. But I'm I'm very forgiving, so maybe I'll think it's fine, and it turns out it's awful. So I could use a bit of support on that today. Also, if I tend to do something like a habit of touching it or something like that, point that out to me so that I learn to not do that. Okay, today I picked this book up. I guess it's been sort of on my mind for about 2 years. The Bittlemores by Jann Arden. So I've heard Jann Arden sing. She's a Canadian singer, and very popular. She's about my age, I believe, and quite funny. I've heard her interviewed on the radio a few times, and she's a great conversationalist. So I made an assumption that her books would be something to follow through. And this is a rural fairy tale, a coming-of-age story, and a prairie mystery all in one. Saturated with her observations of the world she grew up in and her deep connection to the animals she loves, which, that second part, the animals that she loves, within the first 4 pages, I wanted to kill Harry. I mean, I really wanted whatever was going to happen. I wanted to happen it now, and I wanted it to be that Harry was going to be killed because of his treatment of the animals. I ended up having to go and see whether there were any trigger warnings, and apparently, it's not just getting through the first 4 pages of the book to get beyond that. It doesn't. The trigger warnings didn't say how often, but it's just that if you struggle with animals being uncomfortable, and the trigger warnings didn't say like what was the range of cruelty, you're not going to enjoy this book. And I thought, okay, 2 things. I can't stand animal cruelty at any level. I don't mind a dog falling in a mud puddle, and because it was chasing a rabbit, and the rabbit ran up the tree, and the dog went straight into the puddle. That's okay. That's funny. But and I'm not even going to describe what happens in the first 4 pages, but it made me put the book down and go check. So I really don't know how the rest of the book goes. It's a total door closer for me. And I have been looking forward to this for a couple of years when I first heard about it, and so it's not going to happen. She's done other books. I believe they're nonfiction. If I Knew Then, Finding Wisdom in Failure and Power in Aging, and Feeding My Mother Comfort and Laughter in the Kitchen as a Daughter Lives with Her Mother's Memory Loss, which I think I heard her talk about somewhere on the CBC, and Falling Backwards, a memoir. So, I had a lot of trust, and I can't go there. It's so sad because I just think that there's a good story in there. So if anybody's read it and can, put together a sentence that convinces me that I should just get past those first 4 pages, I would appreciate it. One of the things that I've done for this year is just a tiny little project. I'm looking at authors that, for one reason or another, I stopped reading somewhere around 2000, either why. Either we had moved and I kind of lost track of things, or they weren't carried in Halifax. So anyways, I've just done a scour through all of my back books, and came up with this author that I really did like quite a bit. Pulled up one of her books. Now, it turns out I've read this book, which I thought might happen. And I think this is the last one in the series that she's written. It seems to end in 2004. So I have read everything prior to that. So I was just, one of my things was I just couldn't remember when I had last read one of her books. So I went with the one that was most recently published, and thought I'd kind of work my way backwards. Usually I start at the front, but anyways. So Joanne's on vacation. She's a lawyer, and she's on vacation in Lawyer's Bay. Her friend has given her keys to a cottage. It's a real toffs, rich people's lawyer kind of little beach that's all private and like really privileged, and they know it, and they're really enjoying it. And there's some kind of a murder that's going to take place. We know this sort of in the first, we know that someone's going to be dead. We know that in sort of by page 5 or something like that. And we get to meet 3 of the strongest protagonists: Joanne, the potential dead person, and another lawyer in a wheelchair. And they're all very strong, and there's all this kind of underlying messaging of people know stuff that other people don't know. And so it's, I've got a secret that gives me power over you, and oh yeah, we're all supposed to be best friends, but still, if I have to stab you in the back, I've got the ammunition to do it. Joanna has an adopted daughter, and then a son with a girlfriend. And we start to see Joanna in the early days when she's a young mom. She's a widow, and she's sort of working on the premise that she can provide for her family, some of it through being a lawyer, and I think she does something else on the side that it's too long ago for me to remember. She's a good sleuth. The mysteries are solid. You're kind of in the dark quite a long ways into it. She doesn't do a whole bunch of red herrings, and she doesn't rely on someone spilling the beans in order to give you what you need to solve the puzzle along with her. So I do think this is a very good series. It's Canadian, which is also nice. Gail Bowen. The protagonist is Joanne Kilburn, and this one is The Last Good Day. And unfortunately, in this edition, here we go. It's at the back. It starts with deadly appearances in 1990, and a number of these have won awards with Crime Writers Association and so on. So she's a very good mystery writer. All right, 2 books that I am really happy to talk to you about. Judy Blume, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. It's such a inconsequential cover. When I picked this up, I must have been in the 70s. I remember being in grade 6 or 7, and the Scholastic newsletters would come out, and is there something new? Is there something new? And my mom very nicely let me buy a book about sometimes even 2 books every couple of months. So this was one of them. And there was another one that was so good. I can't remember. I think he was a boy that was autistic. Anyways, they were very good books at that time. And what I didn't realize was how influential Judy Blume is for other writers and readers. And quite often in my age group, people will say, well, what was a book that was really important to you when you were younger? And Judy Blume will come up over and over, not necessarily this title, but other people would have picked up something that really resonated. And I gather Judy Blume was one of the few authors to really talk about in particular young girls' issues. So this one has a lot to do with menstruation and the growing of breasts and the sort of competition amongst a group of girls as to who's going to get their periods first, and whose breasts are going to be larger. Well, of course, they're just at the beginning, so every little polka dot is a breast. They're just there's. I don't remember being that uptight about it. I ended up with my period so young that I was so many years ahead of my gang that I'm more like, you don't want that. Why are you worrying about that? Just ignore it. Let it go. It's awful. So there were a lot of girls around me who were also doing this and comparing boobs. And as one of the girls who had boobs early, that's not a fun place to be. And one of the characters does have boobs a little bit quicker and bigger than the other girls. And she's also one of the first ones to have a growth spurt. So, that tragic period of time where you're the tallest girl and nobody wants to dance with you, and of course the parents are all, oh, we need a dance. This is taking place in the 1970s as well, I guess. All the things about getting dressed up for certain types of dances, and the boys on one side and everybody having to learn square dancing because it's the only way they could get the boys and the girls to meet in the center of the gym. And I'm thinking, if they don't want to dance, why don't we do a badminton tournament or something? Like, what do they want to do? Obviously not dancing. So also there's an older brother of one of the other girls who eavesdrops at the girls' doorways when they have their meetings, and he of course gets some insider information as to what the girls are doing, and of course uses this as an opportunity to tease the living daylights out of them, and there's parents who are oblivious. What I liked about this book was two things. One, it was nostalgic, and I enjoyed it the first time, and it's very well written. I mean, that's one of the things that would, there's some sort of question going around, what was the first classic you read that really excited you about reading? And I think this holds up as a classic, possibly because it was so pivotal in so many young girls' lives. As a piece of literature, I'm not so sure that it is, like brilliantly written, except that what is so clever about this book is that it uses the correct vocabulary for the correct body parts, and you are actually getting decent information. You're not getting a film about the salmon swimming up the stream and laying eggs, and somehow that's supposed to explain your own body and menstruation and what's, pregnancy. I don't lay eggs. How's that going to work? So I think this is a really lovely book. And the second thing that I really like about it is that this is, although it's geared more to 11 and 12-year-olds, it has this piece that a lot of contemporary today books aren't really talking about. They're not really talking about, what should I say? A lot of the books today are really caught up in the checklist of crises that kids could encounter. So there was a period of time where you would never read a book about divorced parents. Then all of a sudden we've got all these books about divorcing parents. Then we add in books about divorcing parents plus child custody. And what about the dog? And then, okay, now we're leaving Grammy and Grandpa behind. And now we're moving across the country. And it's like these books just got more and more overwhelming, I thought, with problems, but they were all still things that a kid could connect to. Now there's just so many books where, kids are dealing with, let's see, how do you go about it? They're dealing with refugee situations, and but so they're not just refugees coming from Syria, for instance, but the whole family is traumatized. it becomes such a global overview of difficult things that kids are encountering. And that's not where the problem lies, because you do want to have books that reach out to kids in their experience bubble. But you don't want to overwhelm them. And I think that's where the current writing loses it. I think if you've got every single member of the family having a problem, and there's a geography shift, and there's a money despair and poverty, and like it's just too much, how is a kid going to read that and have some kind of lift outside of the crap that they're going through? You can have this young girl could easily be a refugee in a refugee camp, having the exact same kind of conversations with her girlfriends about what's happening to her body. But we don't also have to see that her brother gets shot, or that her dad gets taken away and put into the army. So do you understand what I'm trying to say? Is that I think that as a kid, I wanted to leave the shit of my world, and there was some profound shit going on. So Nancy Drew was pretty good. I did need a little bit of escapism at that time. Anne of Green Gables, fabulous. What's that? Pollyanna. There were a couple, the Hardy Boys. Like, there needs to be a moment in a kid's reading world where not only are they learning how to be on their own and to read and to have a sort of an engagement with another, like a piece of media that will be something that they want to come back to as they age. Reading is always lovely. But there has to also be some place where they're happy to go, where it's an imagination place that takes them away from whatever it is they're going through. So I have a big long rant, but basically I just feel that that kind of information, the detail of that kind of information, I think, is a little too prevalent right now. And yeah, the kids can take it, and you know why they can take it? They're living it. So what's wrong with a little bit of what's wrong with a little bit of smoke in the story? What's wrong if we don't hit every nail on the head for the trauma for these kids? So that's why I really was glad to reread this, because it just made me remember what I enjoyed reading as a youngster and what I enjoy reading now. I still keep turning to this particular age group for reading, because so much of the world is not a place I really want to inhabit. So yeah, give me a little bit of lollipops. And a unicorn. Yeah, there could be a why couldn't there be a unicorn? It doesn't have to be a real one. Okay, the other one that I read that is another project of mine, T.K. Kingfisher. This is called Minor Mage. It's a novella, and it's 160 pages. So if you're looking for something for Shorty September, this is a really nice candidate. It's not T.K. Kingfisher, it's T. Kingfisher, is a solid writer. You pick up a children's book or a middle grade book or an adult book, you just don't go wrong. This author has got an incredible gift for storytelling and the amount of detail, and she's got a great way of taking. We've got, for instance, in here we've got ghouls, but it's spelt a little bit differently, and she's twisted the nature of these ghouls, I guess. She's twisted it just a little bit, so it's not the same ghoul running after the protagonist. You know, there's something slightly different. There's a combination of vampire and zombie and ghoul, and so you don't get quite the same creature. So this is a magical book. He's a minor mage. He's only got about 3 spells that he can do, and his familiar is an armadillo. And one of the spells he can do is prevent being allergic to the armadillo's dander. So the other 2 spells he has are also pretty unsophisticated. He's between 11 and 12 years old. And his villagers have sent him off on a quest to find the rain clouds because there's a drought, and it's, I guess, second or third year of a drought, and it's turning into like a farming disaster. So he's been sent off, even though he's really too young, doesn't have enough skill set, and he's got to travel with his armadillo, and he's encountering the ghouls, and he comes upon another young boy who's sort of a young teen. And not everybody as a mage is a full-fledged wizardy type person. This young boy can only make musical instruments from the bones of murdered people, which is, I don't remember the name of the ballad that's based on. I know we've got it in our collection of folk songs, and that there's two famous people who sing it. It doesn't. Yes, because they haven't actually reprinted the song. It's not being quoted in here, but they have kind of rewritten it and revisioned it a little bit. So that story exists in here. So our protagonist Oliver seems to have a wizardy our friend Oliver has a trait that I think is often overlooked, that wizards have when they're younger, and that's a lot of luck. And especially when we read the ones where they're up and coming wizards, there's so much blundering going on that it's a lot of just pure chance that they survive some of the spells that they do, or the adventures that they're trying to solve. So we've got Oliver and his buddy and the armadillo stumbling through the woods and encountering bandits and a ghost dressed in a red dress. And was there something else? Oh, some pigs, and make their way up to the cloud shepherds. I think that's what they're called. And so they have to really consider some interesting ethical questions along the way. Oliver could have a more successful journey if he leaves his traveling friend alone. The fact that the traveling friend makes harps from murdered victims is sort of an interesting dilemma. Like, this character has got his own people chasing him, as well as the ghouls. And so it's because he's revealed that a certain powerful person in a village has been murdering children. So these harps have been made, and this man is being exposed, but he's powerful, so he's chasing after the second character. And so these all get all snarled up and resolved. And the armadillo, I must say, is a very, very competent. So I think that's it for me right now in terms of books to recommend. I think, the Gail Bowen author, I would certainly go back and take a look at her earlier stuff. And what I'm going to do next for her is go to Goodreads, where I treat it like an encyclopedia, and I will just check and see whether there's been anything written since this book. Because if there are, and it's not in the library, then I'm going to have to put her. I've got a new list that's a brand new project where I'm making a list of all the things that I could buy in used bookstores, because my friend and I have got a used bookstore ambition. We want to go into used bookstores in the next year or two and just see if we can find old favorites. So that's it for me. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. I'll see you next time. And please do just leave a little thumbs up or thumbs down. It's not about the algorithm. It's just to let me know whether this mic was an improvement or not. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.